Episode 1, The Hellfire Club. It's been 6 months since the Battle of Starcourt, but Hawkins hasn't healed. The damage it left behind still lingers, in the town, in the people, and especially in the ones who know what really happened. The official story blames a fire, but those who were there, those who lost, know better. And now, the next chapter begins. Joyce, Jonathan, Will, and Eleven are thousands of miles away in California, trying to start over. Eleven writes letters to Mike like everything's fine, like school is okay, but it's not. She's lost her power. She's lost Hopper. She's lost the one part of herself that used to make her feel anything close to strong. Getting bullied, pushed, humiliated. Mike is still in Hawkins, still with Dustin and Lucas. Lucas has joined the basketball team. Dustin is still the same, obsessed with radios and strategy games and clever plans. The party isn't what it used to be. At school, a new force is rising. Eddie Munson, Dungeon Master of the Hellfire Club. And right now, with the basketball championship and a D&D campaign finale on the same night. Speaking of Max, she's unraveling. Her headphones are always on. She doesn't talk about Billy. She doesn't talk about much. Billy's death hangs over her like a shadow she refuses to face. Meanwhile, Hopper isn't dead. Joyce doesn't believe the story either. And when she receives a package, a wooden box with a Russian doll inside, she knows it's not just a coincidence. She turns to Murray Bauman. He's still hiding out in his cabin, still speaking in conspiracies, but when Joyce shows him the message, even he can't brush it off. Back in Hawkins, Chrissy Cunningham, the popular cheerleader, is seeing things. Terrible things. And no one notices. Except Eddie, the freak. The one everyone avoids. They cross paths in the woods. She wants something to take the edge off. He gives her laughter instead. But Chrissy is already marked. That night, while the basketball team plays their championship game, Eddie brings Chrissy back to his uncle's trailer. It's quiet, but in the silence, something ancient awakens. Chrissy's body lifts off the ground. Bones snap. Limbs twist. Her mind shattered by things no one else can see. Eddie watches, frozen in terror. Eddie runs. The episode ends not with answers, but with a new kind of terror. One that doesn't crawl. It hunts with purpose. Stranger Things Season 4 doesn't start small. Episode 2, Vecna's Curse. Eddie is gone. Hiding. News spreads fast. Chrissy is dead. The town erupts. Sheriff Powell wants answers. Officer Callahan has none. And Jason Carver, Chrissy's boyfriend and captain of the basketball team, hears the whispers that Eddie Munson, the town freak, was the last person to see her alive. He wants vengeance, dragging the rest of the team into a hunt that's about to spiral out of control. Meanwhile, Nancy Wheeler is following her instincts. She's back working at the school paper, trying to focus on graduation, college, her future. But something feels off. When Fred Benson, her fellow editor, catches wind of Chrissy's death, he pushes for a real investigation. They head to the trailer park, looking for details. Every local they speak to describes the murder like it was something unnatural. And that's when Fred starts seeing things. Fred's visions are darker than Chrissy's. A burning car. And then, just like Chrissy, he hears the ticking. Max is starting to put things together. She's been watching. She doesn't know what it all means yet, but her instincts tell her this is more than a murder. She visits the trailer, the scene of the crime. Back in California, things aren't much better. Eleven's facade is breaking. Her smile is gone. Her fake stories to Mike about having friends and fitting in finally crumble when he arrives for spring break and sees the truth. Angela, the bully who's made Elle's life miserable, humiliates her at the roller rink in front of everyone. And Elle snaps, not with powers, but with a skate to Angela's face. Eleven becomes the villain again. Mike doesn't understand. He wants to. Eleven is losing her grip on her identity. Meanwhile, back in Hawkins, Fred is missing. Nancy is panicking. And when she finds him, it's already too late. Just like Chrissy, Fred levitates into the air, and from the shadows, something watches. Vecna, a name not yet known. Each victim carries guilt, trauma, pain. He haunts them with their worst memories. Dustin starts to suspect a pattern. With Max, Lucas, Steve, and Robin at his side, he pieces together the timeline of Chrissy and Fred's deaths. Both victims experienced headaches, nightmares, and visions before they died. And as Jason riles up his teammates to start a manhunt for Eddie, something much worse begins to take shape. Episode 3, The Monster and the Superhero. Eleven is being interrogated. After the roller rink incident, she's arrested for assault and thrown into a holding cell. Meanwhile, Nancy and Robin go to the library to dig through archived microfiche, searching for anything that might explain these deaths. They find an article from 1959 about a boy named Henry Creel, who claimed his house was haunted. Henry's family died mysteriously. Back in Hawkins, Jason's manhunt for Eddie is growing more aggressive. He's convinced the Hellfire Club is some satanic cult. He corners members and stirs up fear in a town already on edge. Eddie is still hiding at Reefer Rick's, but when Dustin finally finds him and convinces him that they believe him, that they've seen monsters too, Lucas, torn between loyalty to his basketball team and his real friends, he ditches Jason and returns to the group. Max's symptoms are worsening, and the clock, it appears to her again. They rush to the school counselor's office to find files on Chrissy and Fred. Both had reported headaches, nightmares, and visions. Max's name is on the list too. She's next. They don't know how long she has, but it's not days, it's hours. Meanwhile, in California, Mike, Will, and Jonathan realize 11 is gone. Disappeared without a word. The episode ends with Max walking through the halls of Hawkins Middle School, alone. The curse is beginning, and time is running out. Episode 4. Dear Billy. Max is running out of time. Every second feels like a countdown, so she starts writing letters to everyone she loves. Meanwhile, Nancy and Robin head to Penhost Asylum to meet Victor Creel, the man who survived what sounds like the exact same curse in the 1950s. He tells them about a demon that invaded his mind and taking his family from him. He describes music echoing through the house during the attacks. That's when they realize it. Music isn't just sound, it's an anchor. In California, Mike, Will, Jonathan, and Argyle on the run, with the government chasing 11. The dead agent in the back seat warns them with his dying breath that they're being hunted by people who think she's behind everything. Before he dies, he gives them a pen, and inside it is a coded message pointing them to Nina. Meanwhile, in Hawkins, Dustin, Lucas, Steve, and the rest of the group follow Max as she visits Billy's grave. She leaves her letter. The air feels heavier here. Then, without warning, Max is gone. Her friends call her name, but she doesn't answer. She's standing in Vecna's world, and Billy is standing in front of her. He blames her for his death, tells her she wanted him gone. Back in the real world, Dustin figures it out. Max is in the trance, remembering what Nancy and Robin learned from Creel. Music. They play her favorite song, Running Up That Hill. Max sees a tear open above her. Her friends are screaming her name. She starts to run, but Vecna isn't letting her go. He lifts her off the ground, bones tightening, eyes rolling back. Her memories flash before her, moments with Lucas, Dustin, 11. She leaps, reaching for the light, and then she's back, shaking in her friend's arms. The curse is broken. For now. The camera cuts to the upside down. Vecna stands in his lair, watching the surface world. He's angry. His victims were meant to feed him, to open the gates. But one escaped. And though Max is safe for now, something tells her this isn't over. Episode 5. The Nina Project. 11 is trapped between the past and the present. Inside the underground facility in Nevada, under the control of Dr. Brenner and Dr. Owens, she is submerged into the Nina Project, a sensory deprivation tank designed to force her to relive key memories. Brenner watches from behind the glass, his voice always calm but cold. Owens tries to encourage her, calling her brave, but to 11, it feels like punishment disguised as therapy. Meanwhile, in Hawkins, the group begins to split paths. Nancy, Robin, Steve, Dustin, Lucas, and Max learn that every one of Vecna's victims had a connection to the Creel house. They decide to investigate the house. The Creel house is a monument to nightmares. They notice the strange electromagnetic pulses, the same flickers of energy that always come when the upside down is near. They follow the readings to the attic. Back in Lenora, Mike, Will, Jonathan, and Argyle finally crack the code left by the dying agent. It leads them to a military-style compound in the middle of the desert. They realize this is where 11 must be. But even amidst all this chaos, something quiet brews between Mike and Will. In the upside down, Vecna continues to expand. His connection to Hawkins is no longer subtle. Back at the Nina facility, 11 finally starts to remember the boy. Subject 001. He was always there during her moments of failure. He told her not to trust Brenner. She doesn't know who he really is yet, but we do. The seeds of revelation are being planted. The episode ends on multiple cliffhangers. Nancy, Steve, and the others prepare to re-enter the Creel house, this time with the intention of going deeper. Brenner increases the intensity of the Nina trials. Patrick McKinney doesn't know it yet, but his fate is already sealed. At Chrissy's funeral, Patrick suddenly sees a grandfather clock. No one else reacts. Only him, though he tries to hide it as Jason rallies the team. Later that night, he joins Jason and the others as they track Eddie Munson across Lover's Lake. Patrick pushes himself harder than the rest, diving into the cold water without hesitation. He tries to swim back up, but it's too late. Patrick Patrick rises out of the lake, lifted by an invisible force. Jason and the others stare in shock, limbs bent unnaturally, his eyes hollowing inward as his bones snap one after another. Patrick becomes Vecna's next victim, and his death sets off the chain of events that pushes Jason from fear into rage, convinced more than ever that Eddie is behind something far darker than murder. Vecna isn't a ghost story anymore. He's already planned what comes next. Episode 6. The Dive. In Hawkins, things escalate. The kids confirm that every murder by Vecna creates a new gate to the Upside Down, and now they have proof. Eddie saw it happen. After Patrick's death, they find another tear in reality, this time at Lover's Lake. Steve, Robin, Nancy, and Eddie take a boat onto the lake to investigate the new gate. Steve strips down and dives in, flashlight in hand. He finds it, another gate, suspended in the water like a wound that never closed. Just as he begins to surface, vines whip out and drag him through. He disappears into the Upside Down. Nancy dives in after him. Then Robin. Then Eddie. The Upside Down is cold, stale, and crawling with monsters. And now they're trapped there. Inside the tank, 11's memories intensify. She sees herself in the Rainbow Room, being guided by the mysterious orderly. He's kind, soft-spoken, the only adult in the lab who treats her like a person. He tells her there's a chip in his neck keeping him from using his powers, and he asks for her help. This is the moment everything changes. Back in Hawkins, Lucas, Max, and Dustin monitor the others dive into the lake and wait for a sign. In the Upside Down, Steve fights for his life. Bats, winged monsters with teeth like razors, descend on him. He swings wildly, bleeding fast. The episode builds to a climax as 11's memories reach the moment of the massacre. Brenner staring at her through the glass. But the truth is more complicated than that, because it wasn't her. Not entirely. Episode 7, The Massacre at Hawkins Lab. In the suffocating shadows of the Upside Down, Steve, Nancy, Robin, and Eddie navigate the dead mirror of Hawkins, bruised and bloodied. They find shelter in Nancy's old bedroom. Dustin, Max, and Lucas realize the group must still be alive. Through a hastily cobbled plan involving lights and walkie-talkies, they communicate across dimensions. Dustin tells them about a possible gate back in Eddie's trailer. Inside the Nina project, 11 is drowning in memory. She remembers it all now. Not just the screaming or the blood, but the betrayal. How the orderly, the only one she trusted, revealed his true nature. He sees himself not as a villain, but as an evolved being. But 11 refuses. She won't become a monster. So he attacks. Blood pours from her ears and eyes. He overpowers her, momentarily. But in her defiance, she taps into something deeper. And with a scream, she obliterates him. She doesn't kill him, though. She tears open a gate. Hurls him into another world. That's the birth of Vecna. Meanwhile, in Russia, Hopper, Joyce, and Murray face their own nightmare. Trapped inside the Soviet prison, they're forced into an arena with a Demogorgon. Hopper, armed with a flaming spear and desperation, fights for his life. He kills it, burns it alive with fire and grit and fury. Back in the Upside Down, Nancy's mind is not her own anymore. As they reach the gate, climbing bed sheets back into the real world, Vecna strikes. He grabs her consciousness and shows her visions. She's frozen in terror, and in that vision, Vecna speaks to her. The episode ends with revelations crashing in from all sides. Vecna's origin is no longer a mystery. The connection between the lab, and the Upside Down is complete. He didn't just come from that world. He was sent there, made there, by her. And now he's coming back. Episode 8, Papa. The saltwater tank is gone. The Nina chamber has been dismantled, and chaos fills the underground lab. Colonel Sullivan's forces sweep through the hallways, but it's Brenner, Papa, who acts first, dragging 11 out of the chaos and into the desert, desperate to save her not from the army, but from herself, from the world. The helicopter spots them. Soldiers fire. He falls. 11 kneels beside him, and 11 turns her gaze skyward. Her hand rises, and with a scream, she yanks the chopper out of the sky. It crashes in a fiery blaze. Meanwhile, Mike, Will, Jonathan, and Argyle finally reach her. They've driven across the country, and now they find her in the desert. There's no time to celebrate. She knows she has to return. To Hawkins. To Max. To the fight. Speaking of Max, she, Lucas, and Erica are setting the final phase of their plan into motion. She offers herself as bait. They prepare her with music, with memories. Back in the Upside Down, Nancy, Steve, Robin, Dustin, and Eddie move through the twisted version of Hawkins. In Russia, Joyce, Hopper, and Murray find themselves facing something they barely understand. The prison holds more than Demogorgons. There are vats, bodies, shadow particles suspended in liquid, experiments. It's research. They've captured a piece of the Mind Flayer, a living cloud cloud of tendrils and smoke. 11 and the California crew make a plan to reach Hawkins. Mike holds her hand. Will watches silently. There's something he's still not ready to say. Episode 9, The Piggyback. The final episode begins with Max, Lucas, and Erica walking into Hawkins High. Max has made her choice. She will offer herself as bait for Vecna. In the Upside Down, Steve, Nancy, and Robin climb toward Vecna's lair in the Creel house. Everything is rotting. Meanwhile, Dustin and Eddie set up distractions to draw out the demo bats. But the second they plug in the amp, we know Eddie isn't walking away from this. In Nevada, 11 climbs into a sensory deprivation tank made of salt. Inside Max's mind, Vecna finds her, and then begins the ritual. Her limbs begin to snap. Her eyes begin to bleed. And somewhere in the void, 11 arrives. Too late. She throws Vecna back with a scream. They clash in a dreamscape. Mike's voice breaks through. He's speaking to her from the real world. Robin and Steve are choked by vines. Nancy finds a shotgun. Demobats rip into Eddie and Dustin's shields. And Eddie fights until his last breath. Dustin screams. Eddie dies in his arms. Back in Max's mind, 11 gains the upper hand. But the damage is done. Max is too far gone. The gates open. Hawkins splits open. Nancy, Steve, and Robin blast him with bullets and fire. He falls out of the attic window, but he's not dead, just wounded. 11 tries to bring Max back. 2 days later, Hawkins blames the devastation on an earthquake. And in the last moments, Mike will Hopper Joyce 11, staring into the smoke. And Will says it first. He's not gone. Vecna is still alive. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this full recap of Stranger Things Season 4 and want to see more, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.